Hazel eyes, neither brown, green, nor blue, are woven into the very fabric of Ireland, yet their origins defied explanation for generations. Scientists thought they were just a random genetic mix, but ancient DNA from Trinity College Dublin has upended that story. The genes for hazel eyes did not simply blend in over time. They arrived in a dramatic wave 4,500 years ago, rewriting the genetic landscape overnight. So, how did a Bronze Age migration reshape Irish identity and leave nearly a quarter of the population with this rarest of traits? The answer lies hidden in genomes pulled from ancient graves. Eye color is far more complicated than the old classroom chart of dominant and recessive genes. Scientists now know that at least 16 different genes work together to create the spectrum of human eye color, from deep brown to icy blue and everything in between. This complexity runs deeper than the chart suggests. The most influential are OCA2 and HERC2, both located on chromosome 15, which control how much melanin ends up in the iris. High melanin produces brown eyes, the original state for all early humans as they migrated out of Africa more than 50,000 years ago. Blue eyes result from a single mutation near the Black Sea about 10,000 years ago, and that mutation sharply reduces melanin production. The influential effect of these genes shapes much of the global variation we see. But hazel eyes are neither one nor the other. They require a precise mix, enough melanin to avoid blue, but not so much as to turn brown. The result is an iris that shifts between green, gold, and brown depending on the light, thanks to the way melanin interacts with Rayleigh scattering, a physical process that also explains why the sky appears blue. This complexity means that predicting eye color from DNA is not as simple as checking one or two genetic markers. It takes a multi-locus approach, analyzing many points across the genome to trace how these subtle variations combine. For researchers studying ancient DNA, this genetic puzzle demands new tools and careful detective work, and it sets the stage for breakthroughs that can reveal the hidden history of traits like hazel eyes. Inside a climate-controlled lab at Trinity College Dublin, ancient human remains are handled with almost surgical precision. Every bone and tooth is processed in a clean room environment, and modern DNA contamination is kept at bay by strict protocols and layers of protective gear. Over the past decade, geneticist Cassidy and her team have assembled a remarkable data set, DNA from 90 individuals, each buried in Ireland at a different point over the last 6,000 years. The samples span eras from the earliest farmers to the metalworkers of the Bronze Age and into the Iron Age. Using advanced sequencing techniques, the team targets specific points in the genome called single nucleotide polymorphisms, that is, single base changes known to influence pigmentation. These markers allow scientists to reconstruct the likely eye color of people who lived and died long before written history. Early results show a clear pattern. Ireland's Neolithic ancestors carried the genetic blueprint for dark eyes, a baseline that would soon be disrupted. But as the data accumulate, an unexpected anomaly catches the researchers' attention, a sudden shift in eye color variance that does not fit with slow genetic drift. The lab's findings raise new questions about what happened in Ireland's distant past, and what could have caused such a dramatic change in the genetic landscape. Around 2500 BCE, Ireland's genetic landscape faced a transformation unlike anything seen before. Archaeological digs from this period reveal a sudden appearance of bell beaker pottery, distinctive, finely decorated drinking vessels that had never been part of local tradition. Alongside these artifacts, ancient DNA tells a parallel story. Sequencing of remains from bell beaker-associated burials exposes a dramatic turnover, as the genetic signatures of earlier Neolithic communities rapidly give way to markers of people who traced their ancestry to the Pontic-Caspian steppe, far to the east. This migration was not a trickle, but a wave. Within a few centuries, the newcomers' genetic contributions soared. Today, 30% of the average Irish genome can be traced to these Bronze Age migrants. The change was especially pronounced among men. Y chromosome analysis shows that before 2500 BCE, native lineages like I2 and G2A dominated. After the arrival of the bell beaker groups, one lineage, R1b, swept through the male population. More than 80% of Irish men now carry this marker, a legacy of the steppe migration. Mitochondrial DNA, inherited through maternal lines, tells a more blended tale. While male lineages were largely replaced, many local maternal lines persisted, painting a picture of male-biased migration and intermarriage with local women. The archaeological and genetic evidence converge at key sites like Ross Island, where the earliest copper mines in Ireland appear alongside beaker pottery and steppe-related genomes. On Rathlin Island, Bronze Age burials dating to around 2000 BCE show almost complete replacement of earlier genetic profiles. Strontium isotope studies of teeth from these burials point to origins outside Ireland, supporting the idea that these individuals were recent arrivals. In Britain and Ireland alike, the Bell-Beaker horizon coincides precisely with this genetic upheaval, replacing earlier traditions of communal megalithic tombs with single grave burials and new technologies. Forward simulations and demographic models support what the bones and pottery suggest. This was a rapid, sweeping change. The step ancestry component, initially rare, became widespread in as little as 10 to 15 generations, just a few hundred years. The genetic turnover was so thorough that it set the foundation for traits that would become uniquely Irish, including the high prevalence of hazel eyes. The combination of massive migration, founder effects, and Ireland's island geography created a population where intermediate eye color variants could flourish. This evidence leaves little doubt about the scale and speed of the Bronze Age transformation, anchoring the story of hazel eyes in the real physical record of ancient Ireland. Hazel eyes, with their shifting palette of green, gold, and brown, are the product of a genetic balancing act that played out over centuries. Unlike blue or brown eyes, which follow clearer genetic signals, hazel depends on a delicate combination of variants at multiple locations in the genome. At the heart of this recipe are the OCA2 and HERC2 genes on chromosome 15. Instead of the all-or-nothing combinations that produce blue or brown, hazel often appears when individuals inherit different versions of these genes, one variant from each parent resulting in heterozygosity. This state produces just enough melanin in the iris to create an intermediate tone, neither fully dark nor entirely light. The arrival of steppe migrants in the Bronze Age brought new versions of these key genes into the Irish gene pool. When these newcomers mixed with descendants of Neolithic farmers, their genetic legacies combined to create a unique set of possibilities. Modern tools like the HiRIS-Plex-S system analyze over 40 genetic markers to predict hair, eye, and skin color, and they show that the highest probability of hazel or intermediate eyes comes from specific combinations, often when the influential HERC2 variant is present in a heterozygous state. Ireland's island status meant that after the Great Wave of migration, the population was relatively isolated. With limited gene flow from the outside, the rare balance of variants that favored hazel eyes had a chance to persist and even become more common over generations. Computer modeling of population genetics supports the idea that dramatic changes in gene frequencies can occur rapidly under the right conditions. In the centuries following the Bronze Age influx, simulations show that intermediate eye color variants could rise to high frequencies within just 10 to 15 generations, roughly 250 to 400 years, especially in a small, semi-isolated population. This time frame fits with the archaeological and genetic evidence from Ireland, where the genetic turnover was both swift and profound. Today, the high rate of hazel eyes in Ireland is a living testament to this historical process. The interplay of ancient migrations, genetic chance, and geographic isolation created a population where the rare recipe for hazel eyes could thrive. Each pair of hazel eyes carries within it the story of distant ancestors, farmers, herders, and travelers whose genes met and mingled on an island at the edge of Europe. The result is a visible legacy, preserved against the odds, that continues to set Ireland apart in the modern world. Today, every hazel-eyed gaze in Ireland carries a living link to migrations that reshaped the island's DNA. As ancient genomes continue to inform identity debates worldwide, one truth endures. Our features are maps, each trait a record of journeys that still shape who we are. What will yours reveal?